important reminder. All information and ideas are for informational purposes only and are in no way intended as medical advice or as a substitute for medical counseling. Earthshift Products, Dr. Robert Cassar, all of their partners, affiliates, and subsidiaries will not be held accountable for the use or misuse of the information presented therein. This information is not intended as medical advice. The authors, publishers, and speakers of this work are not medical doctors and do not recommend the use of mineral-deficient foods, drugs, or medicines to achieve beauty and to alleviate health challenges. Because there is always some risk involved, all persons involved with the development and distribution of this information are not responsible for any adverse effects or consequences of any kind resulting from the use or misuse of any suggestions or procedures described on our website or Earthshift Live radio talk show or therein.
So mercury poisoning's in the mouth, mercury poisoning's in the water, mercury poisoning's in vaccines, it's in flu shots. I don't have to tell anybody this, it's all available. And why is mercury so special to talk about? Because unless we actually understand this, people say, I want to detoxify. What do you want to do, guys? Why don't you stop the rivers first and your lake of poisons before you think you're going to start to clean the lake? The body's 18 gallons of salt water, and you must stop the rivers of pollution into it before you think you're going to clean it up. End of story. Most people are saying, oh, Dr. Cassar, what do I do? What do I do? Clean up your act. And actually learn some of the systems. These laptops kick out 50 to 60 milligrams with your hands on them. What's that? I'll show you with an ethereal meter. Everyone needs one. What's an ethereal meter? Things that see the invisible magnetism, electromagnetic waves, radio frequencies, Wi-Fi. These are invisible waves. Lead, mercury, and tin. Mercury in our food. Mercury coming out from the coal plants. Mercury in all of the fish. Casey and I just got back from the Big Island for a retreat with Nick Good, Robbie N. Hemingway, Rachel Mack. We just were on the plane and we're reading a magazine article. And Casey says, I just read a magazine article here, and a guy went all the way across from the Pacific Ocean, from the cleanest waters, and sailed across on a pile of junk, a boat. And he did samples to go ahead and see the fish. All the fish are poisoned. They all have huge amounts of plastic, DDT, pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, plasticizers. Eat flesh and you'll transfer what's in the flesh to your flesh. Okay? Vegetarianism may be not as actually holy as sometimes people are going to change their diets to. Remember, we're wanting a non-contaminated food source, and that's not available at this time, but it is now. So, let's go ahead and actually, maybe you want to jump in here, David. And
I want to just mention, because this is such an important point, and I love this about you, is that you bring this thing up about mercury, and we're looking at these fillings, and mercury's 10 times more toxic than DDT, and maybe you could talk about how mercury affects the nervous system, and that affects our vision of reality, and that whole piece of it.
Consciousness is why we're here. And your body is the key to the temple of the mind. End of story. This is called Solomon's Temple. It is the key to the mind. We know that. Okay? The nervous system, as I was saying before, is an extension of you. It is an extension of your reality, and this is the problem what we have. We have a lot of people in here that are actually seeing a reality. They want to grow, which means you're going to have to grow your nervous system. That is everything. Everything. So once we find that out, the nervous system is everything. Okay, let's go ahead and understand. The nervous system's rebuilt every 8 months. Every 8 months your body rebuilds this thing that actually gives you the reality that you believe is real. Remember, to see, feel, hear, and touch is actually what we call consciousness, and it is connected to these things called nerves. And these nerves are protected by a thing called a myelin sheath, which is a big piece of fat. But this is good fat. It's the same type of coating that's around an electrical cord, so it doesn't short out. And mercury takes this coating down big time. Do you have the one on smoking fillings? You want to watch this? There's about a 2-minute clip, and I know there's a big group. Look, I know it's an embarrassment to be able to still have mercury, lead, and tin in your mouth because you can't know it all. And once you find out, remember, oh, I'm going to take them out today. So how are you going to get out all this accumulated, magnetically bound mercury, lead, and tin out of your flesh? Well, it's a little bit in your flesh, but you know where it accumulates? On the myelin sheath, which is the fatting coating of the nerve. And that's why you see everybody with their little shakes they got going. I had it too. I had huge amounts of mercury poisoning. Remember, I had 14 mercury fillings. 14. Each mercury filling, if you look it up, this is an embarrassment, okay? Each mercury filling secretes, on the average, 50 to 100 micrograms of methyl mercury. It does not leave you. It accumulates in you. But check it out. You got one tooth in your mouth, and if you put it in a small pond this size, the EPA would close it down for mercury poisoning because it would be non-fit for at the current level of poisoning or current level of what we call toxicity. So if you've got 10 of these things in your mouth, oh, and guess what, guys? When you put a cell phone up to your head, electrolysis does occur because, remember, electromagnetic systems actually stimulate alchemistic metals. Yes, they do. Zinc and copper together make energy. Copper top battery, okay? Just mixing metals together. This body accumulates lead, mercury, tin, arsenic, thallium, stainless steel, insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, and all different types of plasticizers. And that's the reason why when we take our clothes off and look in the mirror, why we can't see through our skin to our flesh. Our skin is actually 7 layers thick only. That's it, 7 layers. As thin as your eye. That's it, okay? So if this body has a 7-layer armor shield around it and has literally thousands of pores, and each pore has up to a 4-foot tube that actually gives rise to this internal component to let it bleed out a lot of its poison. We're going to show you one of the most significant things why you came here is actually just to share with you how to clean up the biggest organ in your body right now. And this is, I took Nick Good last time, and all he can tell you is, wonderful, mate. Okay, he's Australian. And I can't do the Australian accent, though. Anyways, he told me that this is the most, as all we can do is share really what we feel is really significant. And I know that the largest body organ that you have is your skin, isn't it? Okay, 8-9 pounds of skin, that's a lot of organ there. Okay, liver's only a couple, 3 pounds, unless you got big liver. The skin, thousands of pores. Each pore is the entrance and or the exit of what you would call the internal and extracellular body. All your pores inside, including mine, daily become plugged. Yes, they do. And how do you unplug these pores? Another solution here. Remember, I'm going to initiate this one more time here because I don't want to get in trouble here because we all can. David knows this. This is a sensitive issue. Very sensitive. I am not an authority, nor do I want to be. I have not written books for a reason, because otherwise I'm an author. And once you're an authority, then of course the authorities have to control you in a certain way because you're an authority. So, I'm just a student here, and we put together this experimental research community so we can share like this. We can learn like this, we can teach like this and investigate it, don't believe it, and advance what we do know and advance not what we don't know. Remember, there is a set of information that has much efficacy to it. I know that, David knows that, a group of people that are coming together, we all know that, and we can only go as far on our own by ourselves. And this is where we're coming together here. We're coming together and making this little team, group, because each of us has something valid to share. Okay? So, the skin is something that we'll make about probably 45 minutes to go over this. Okay? David, remember when you came over last time? I beat you up good, remember upstairs at the Big Island?
It was amazing. I mean, I'm really impressed by the physical side of your research of breaking up what you call the sclera, which is those layers under those 7 layers of skin, which is where the pain is. And this is something that we've been talking about. And we've been talking about these 5 different pieces of the puzzle. Part 5 is something that Dr. Cassar is really a master of, which is breaking up all those things inside of us where if you dig all the way in, there's pain going on. And breaking all that stuff off and using solvents to do that, fulvic acid, and then internally taking in a really important substance that draws out the mercury. One of our biggest things that we're into is EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. You want to just touch on that before we get on onto the skin piece? Because that pulls out mercury.
What a mouthful of words.
Ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid.
Say it really fast.
Ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid.
Yeah, you did like I said. I love you, bro. Okay, EDTA comes in several forms. It's sort of weird for me to talk about this because if you actually buy EDTA from Spectrum Pharmaceutical, calcium EDTA, you'll find out that it has 2 warnings on the label. Cancer warnings. 2. One to cause severe birth defects and one to cause link to cancer. EDTA is in your food. Go pull out all your salad dressings, everything that you see, read it. Calcium disodium, EDTA. Comes in many different names too. I've taken probably 3 kilos, which is about 6 pounds of EDTA, which I would not suggest by taking it by the mouth. It's turbulent.
This right here, these are suppositories.
Exactly.
And this is a really cool innovation that you've really made available to us, is that getting it this way versus having to go into a clinic and getting it intravenous, which was really the only safe way before.
Let me tell you why. Now, the calcium disodium I used to use is super turbulent. Oh, yes, it is. You'll be on the toilet all day long. Okay? Don't go far away. Do not try to let out one because it's better way too big. I know. I've had many mistakes. I don't use calcium disodium anymore because it's too turbulent and it actually is very effective, too effective for the kidney. It unloads tons of lead right away, and oh yes, you probably most likely start getting sick and feel bad. I use now, and you gotta remember, if you take ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid as an amino acid specifically made to bind mercury, cadmium, aluminum, lead, different types of alkaloid metals. Okay? I'm going to get back with this in 2 seconds here. Remind me to come back with the reason being why this is potassium. Okay? Excuse me. Magnesium dipotassium ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. This is a different source. It's, remember, everybody's magnesium deficient. Everybody. You guys use your mind? Huh. Some of you people, I think, use your mind a lot here. That's why you're here. Okay? You're all, as I know, because I was, magnesium deficient. So this is actually a really cool thing because when you take these, you don't actually feel weird like you do with the calcium disodium because that's work, let me tell you. Stay home for the weekend. Okay? That's why you go to the doctor. $500 to go ahead and get intravenous ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. And unless you really squeeze this body, nothing's coming out except for the stuff in the blood. Remember, we want to get to the stuff deep. We want to get the stuff in the lymph glands, all the tissues, and basically the cement